Frank West is back for real this time, I swear. The best way to describe this game is faithful. Think about Dead Rising 2006. Now think about that, but with a new coat of paint. Dead Rising DR is made from the ground up in the RE engine and had every model updated. And I'm just gonna rip the band-aid off and say I don't mind Frank's redesign. Everybody looked goofy in 2006, but that was due to hardware limitations and design choices, so I was kinda hoping that Capcom used the official render that they had back in the day. But right now, he looks 50, but you know what? He's still my guy. I support him. All the Frank facial features can be seen. You got the big forehead, the big nose, the heavy eyebrow line, the gang's all here. Honestly, other than Frank, everybody else is pretty solid, and some of them even look better than the original. I love Adam's redesign, and Steven looks completely insane, profusely sweating throughout the entire interaction. I'm also really liking the jewel on Sean's head and his brand new facial animations and line delivery when he sees Frank. He seems a lot more amused this time around than the original. A lot of the voice acting is inferior to the original, but most of it is still pretty solid. To be honest, most of the bad voice acting comes from Brad.
You just worry about staying alive. Got it?
Brad, drop the R, buddy. I can only really talk about the models because my PC is as old as Frank, so I can't really run this game on max settings. Luckily, I don't need a better PC to talk about the controls. Everybody has sung praises for Dead Rising and its sandbox weaponry, including things like spit, swords, shopping carts, teddy bears, and weird dice thingies. Really though, what are these? This time around, all that stuff is the same, but there was a pretty big overhaul to the mechanics, and a lot of them will leave you looking something like this. Notice the oral cavity left agape and both hands comforting the posterior end of the skull, keeping the occipital and parietal bones fused. The first thing that caught my attention was how fluid Frank felt to control. You hardly ever have moments where you're stuck in place, and on the other side of the spectrum, your feet aren't buttery anymore, as you can see from these jukes. Ooh, kill him. You can cancel out a ton of different animations with the roll, so you're never stuck in certain animations that you used to get stuck in, like trying on new clothes or healing up. The roll itself doesn't even stagger you anymore. It pretty much maintains your speed and sends you right back into a run, and you can control which direction you're facing at the end of the animation. Another thing I'm sure everybody has heard about is the new ability to walk while aiming, but I haven't heard anybody allude to the fact that swapping weapons with quick step doesn't even slow you down anymore. I can now swap through all my items without sacrificing time on my drink effect. That is a huge one for me. It's my zombie infested Midwestern mall. I get to enjoy my drink, thank you very much. This is such a tiny change, but for some reason it really excited me to see. Other tiny quality of life improvements include being able to swap between actions that are too close together, a ramp to the safe house, a brand new control scheme, and the ability to choose how you push zombies off of you. Although there's all those quality of life improvements, the only additions to the weapons in this remake are something I honestly wasn't expecting, and it's the addition of the rocket launcher. Apparently it was scrapped from the original game, and we got it this time around, which is fucking insane. I never even expected something this crazy aside from the Mega Buster in Dead Rising 1. This shit's so fun to use. On top of that, there are 11 new books. You heard me right, there are now 11 new books. May I repeat? There are 11 new books that affect the gameplay rather than just giving you passive buffs. You could even stack buffs by keeping them in your inventory. For example, let's take Picture Almanac to strengthen thrown items and toy modding to increase the damage and knockback of toy items to make the frisbee a force to be reckoned with. Around the mall, we even have extra shit for the camera. I don't think you understand how big this is for me. I love cameras in video games. I don't know what it is. I don't even use them to take cool pictures or anything. There's just something about cameras in games that don't really need cameras. This could have just been a game where a guy gets stuck in a zombie mall, but Capcom cooked. And we're like, what if camera? And history was fucking made! Along with the brand new autofocus, you also have a manual focus, a flash, and a brightness leveler. This gives me an opportunity to make the best fucking pictures known to man as long as he just stays in frame. Fuck. Frank is buttery smooth, the camera is updated. What else could have been updated? Oh yeah. That guy. The survivors have been tweaked a bit to have the will to survive for the most part. As you take them around the mall, there's a chance that they'll mention locations or characters you may run into. Another thing they'll do is mention photo op stickers that are slapped across the map, which is actually really sick.
Hey, Frank, there's something here. Maybe you should take a picture of it.
That's so fucking sick. All right. Calm down, dude. I know this is a new game, but calm down. Look, real talk. Who the hell is placing these stickers around the mall? I wouldn't be so upset about it, but this is literally vandalism. They're on every sign and attraction. This is ruining my shot. Regardless of how I feel about them, they're all around and pointed out on the map after survivors point them out to me, but I always take the picture because why not? Papa needs more PP. Adding on to the interaction, all of the survivors have favorite items and a happy meter just to show you how happy they are. The more jolly your survivors are, the more willing they are to survive and assist one another. These additions weren't needed, weren't even a thought in my brain, and truthfully weren't asked for, but I'm all here for it. Sometimes when I get lonely, I just hop on Dead Rising and gather survivors. I'm not sure if they can understand me though. Hey man, I know a lot of stuff's going on, man. I'm so sorry. Man, this sucks. If they're not gonna talk to me, who will? Oh! Okay, so obviously all the psychopaths are here this time around, all with a few tweaks, but most important of which is the tweaking of their AI. Unlike the survivors who've been blessed with the will to live, the psychopaths just kind of don't care. To be fair, a few of them kind of have a reason. But come on, if Leia can lose her baby and still follow me to the safe house, you can survive your manic episode, okay? Pull yourself together. A couple of them seem slightly easier, like Joe and Paul, but I think Cliff is the most egregious example. I always found him really annoying to fight because he was constantly jumping in and out of vents and throwing shit at me. But in the remaster, I think after fighting him 4 or 5 times, I've seen him jump in events like once per fight. I thought Adam was really fun though for my first time playing. And then I remembered I was playing the remaster, so I just... The original game was difficult because the AI was relentless and the controls fucking sucked. I'm sorry, it's true. These psychopaths are shells of what they used to be, and I think I've only died 1 time to them, and it's because Adam got really wacky and had a ball chase me around. After bringing up the bosses, I kind of have to bring up the elephant in the room and talk about the censorship. The censorship has been a huge thing for some people, and while I do understand how some people would be let down by these changes, I simply can't understand it being a deal breaker. Starting with the most reasonable change, I'll bring up Larry. Originally, he was a Chinese immigrant who worked as a butcher whose purpose was to kill Carlito and act as an ironic end to Carlito's story, but let's be real. This depiction, it's very problematic, okay? I don't even have to explain why. Changing the design into something more neutral was the safest option, but I'm wondering why Capcom didn't keep him Chinese. They could have really kept his ethnicity with just a little bit less of a racist depiction. I don't understand. Just don't be racist. The next change is something that I've heard complaints about for so long, and I kid you not, it is the changing of 2 words. So when you walk into the boss fight with Cliff and get the cutscene, originally he says,
"Oh yeah, I know why. It's because you're Viet Cong. I'm right. Aren't I? You are nothing but a filthy communist."
But now he says this.
It's because you're a mole. I'm right. Aren't I? You are nothing but a filthy animal!
And I've heard people go on rants about this, saying that it ruins his story and somehow shoving his depiction of PTSD to the side, but it's not really shoving anything to the side. Other than those 2 words, the scene plays out exactly the same front to back, and he still says,
When I heard her scream, I just lost it. Everything went white suddenly.
so his depiction of PTSD is still there. Some say that it sounds more cartoony and doesn't sound real. I think the biggest crime for me is the voice actor switch up. Steve Bloom killed it so hard originally, and I always love his performances. Taking out the Vietnam reference definitely neutralizes the scene a little bit, so I understand why people prefer the original scene, since it grounds the character in reality, but personally, I don't really care all too much. I'm not playing for Cliff, but hey, maybe you're his #1 fan and this is a deal breaker for you, which in that case is understandable. On the other hand, if you're not #1 Cliff fan and you're deciding not to get the game due to this change, not too sure what to tell you other than you're missing out on a very fun experience. The next few I'll bunch together because they'll deal with the same subject, the removal of the erotica tag and Kent's sexiest shot. Look man, changing up Larry? Reasonable. Changing up Cliff's voice lines? Debatable. Taking out unnecessary sexualization during a zombie outbreak? Who cares? Look, I understand that taking out the erotica tag is taking content out of the game, but it's so insignificant. You can't really even get it unless you go out of your way to be freaky. Even if you could get them on a whim, horror and brutality will get you infinitely more points. Even a well-framed outtake will get you more points than the most perfect erotica shot. Think about what they took from you, sure, but think about what they're giving you in return. I feel like the quality and life improvements make up for it. As for Kent, he doesn't show his sexiest shot anymore, but don't worry, they did not take the scene out. They just replaced it with his funniest shot. Hey, looks like you took my words into consideration. I understand how some people can see the removal of the mention of Vietnam from Cliff as a scene killer, but come on, man. The sexiest shot adds literally nothing to Kent's character. I saw a comment somewhere saying that it shows how psychotic he is. No, do you know what does give a better representation of him being psychotic? Maybe the fact that he captured a living person, tied him up, and tried to take a picture of him as the parasite infects him. Which one is more psychotic? Think about that. If this removal is really that big of a game changer for you, don't worry much, because Joe is still in the game. The last piece of erotica censorship I've seen is the change of Cheryl's dress. I don't have much more to say about this topic, man. The old one kinda looks not that good, and I like the new one's design a lot better. Her erotica mission is still in the game, where she calls Frank to the safe house. The only difference is that the pictures you take are counted as photo ops instead of erotica. But no, forgive me, the pink circle really did make this moment pop in the original. Alright, the last thing I noticed. Frank does not say what in the world here. Capcom, was that really necessary? Did you really have to take out that line? Come on, man. With all that said, the question that needs to be asked is whether or not this lives up to the original. After a few playthroughs, days of pondering, and a gallon of OJ later, I've come to the conclusion that the remaster does in fact almost live up to the original. Pretty much everything in Dead Rising 2006 can be seen here, even cool minor details such as a working treadmill and hopping in pain after kicking a vase. Every weapon and piece of clothing you can interact with from the original game is still available to my knowledge, and with the rocket launcher being added to the game, which is sick because it was scrapped in the original, that means they added at least one more weapon to the game. The only downfall of this game is how easy it is. The major survivor update and lackluster AI from the Psychopaths made this game extremely easygoing. Don't get me wrong, I am so glad that they made survivors better to drag around, but this is way too easy. Maybe to compensate for the survivor update, they could have made the zombies way more aggressive towards them, so you still have to babysit them on the way back to the safe house? I don't know. The Psychopaths, on the other hand, need to be more annoying in some way. Since the survivors had an overhaul, I would be fine with the same thing being done to the bosses. Sometimes they'll just stand there and let you hit them. The lead pipe is my weapon of choice this time around, because the psychos can't seem to do anything about it. A new autosave feature makes dying less scary, but I haven't died more than once, so I pretty much didn't use it to save me in that aspect. It did save me from a few game crashes though. It seems to autosave constantly just in case your game closes or something, but if you die, it acts like a checkpoint and saves at the end of a cutscene or upon entering a new area. Another complaint is that you gain XP extremely fast, since pictures are a lot more lenient and gives you way more points this time around, and I think the easier AI makes XP bonuses such a walk in leisure park. The difficulty is a huge selling point for the first game just as much as the sandbox aspect. Some of the difficulty came from the horrible survivor AI and some of it came from jank hitboxes, but everything melts into a pretty tight package that you have to play a few times over to get comfortably through the game. At the end of the day, I love Dead Rising, and I really like this game. This is definitely a more casual Dead Rising 1 experience, so if you don't like the strict nature or outdated feel of the original, this game is definitely recommended. Thank you for watching the video. I know this remaster has been really divisive with the community. A lot of people are criticizing it to fucking hell and back. Truthfully, I think it's like fine. I don't know. The base game is cheaper than the original when it came out. It's $10 cheaper. I don't know, $60 now is worth less than $60 then. I think that in turn makes it cheaper. Like by a lot. I don't know. Economics isn't my fucking thing, dog. Let me know what you think about the game in the comments. I'm sure a lot of people have gripes with it. I have gripes with it. But I think it's a fun overall experience. I literally couldn't ask for more, honestly. I don't know what I could ask for. Other than Dead Rising 2 remake? Remaster? Dead Rising 2 off the record? Ooh, hold on. Dead Rising 2 off the record remaster? Look it. If you like what you saw, subscribe. I got more content on the way. Gears of War stuff, Dead Rising stuff, Tekken stuff on the way. Thanks for watching.